You know, it hit me like a gut punch that crisp autumn morning. The acrid stink of charred fiberglass wafting up from the dock, mixing with the damp fog off Willow Bay. And there she was, my little skiff, the Emily Rose, reduced to a twisted hunk of ash and melted dreams. Named after my late wife, Emily. The one thing left that carried her spirit on those quiet evenings we'd drift out, just talking about nothing and everything. I stood there, boots sinking into the mud, staring at the wreckage, that cold knot twisting in my chest because I knew damn well this wasn't some freak accident. It was payback, pure and simple, from the Riverside Estates HOA, those busybodies who'd been hounding me for months over fees I never owed. See, I'd ignored their latest, final notice for $950 in phony charges, landscaping surcharges, aesthetic penalties, the works, because my 5-acre plot, handed down from my granddad in the 50s when this was all wild meadows and timber, predated their gated McMansion sprawl by decades. No covenants signed, no dues due. Just me minding my own on the bay's edge. But oh, they didn't like that. Folks like Karen Voss, the HOA queen bee, a former real estate shark who'd clawed her way to the top by nitpicking every lawn gnome and paint shade in the neighborhood. She saw my independence as a threat to her little empire, built on inflated egos and manipulated maps that conveniently swallowed up fringe lots like mine to pad their coffers. She'd rolled up in her shiny black SUV a week earlier, clipboard in hand like a weapon, sunglasses perched on her nose even though the sky was overcast, striding up my gravel path without so much as a hello. "Mr. Harlan," she snapped, not even looking me in the eye. "I'm Karen Voss, president of Riverside Estates. We've sent you notices, and your delinquency is impacting community values. All bayfront properties fall under our charter, no exceptions, pay up or face lions." I leaned against the porch rail, coffee mug steaming in my hand, keeping my voice steady like I'd learned in my army days. "Ma'am, my deed's clear as day, bought fair and square before your development even broke ground. This ain't your turf, and what you're pulling smells like straight-up extortion." Her lips thinned into that fake smile, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. "Our lawyers say otherwise, Jack. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. We're just ensuring everyone pulls their weight for the greater good." And with that, she spun on her heel, leaving me fuming but resolved, because I'd wired half this county's grids in my 35 years as an electrician, and I knew a short circuit from sabotage. The fire? No electrical mishap. The fuel line slashed clean, accelerant trails obvious to anyone with half a brain, and sure enough, an email pinged in later that day from the HOA, all polished and impersonal. "Community alert. Unfortunate vessel incident due to maintenance neglect. Remember, all docks and crafts must meet safety standards." No sorry, no name dropping, just their sly way of pinning it on me while covering their tracks. That knot in my gut turned to fire. They hadn't just torched a boat, they'd burned a piece of Emily, our lazy sunsets, her laugh echoing over the water. And I wasn't about to roll over for some power-tripping clique who'd probably whispered about the stubborn old coot on the corner at their wine and cheese meetings, jealous maybe of my untouched slice of paradise amid their cookie-cutter hell. I grabbed my phone, circled the wreck slow-like, snapping pics of every telltale sign, the punctured lines, the unnatural burn patterns, building my case methodically, because rage without a plan is just noise, and I'd learned patience in Nam, gathering intel before striking back. First off, I called the county fire marshal, played it cool. Unknown origin, need a look. And this kid inspector, Ramirez, shows up, pokes around, sniffs the air, his face saying he knows it's arson, but his report? "Undetermined," he mutters, shrugging like it's above his pay grade, protecting the bureaucracy that lets these HOAs run wild. Emails to the town hall? Auto reply promising a response in 2 weeks. Dead end. So I started knocking on doors, not the shiny new ones under Karen's thumb, but the old-timers like me. And that's when I hit gold with my neighbor down the bend, Pete Gonzalez, ex-cop who'd rigged his place with cams after some punk kids egged his truck. "Heard about your boat, Jack. That's bullshit," he grumbled, wiping oil from his hands in his garage, that shared nod between vets who get it without words. He pulls up his footage, and there it is, grainy infrared at 2:37 a.m. Karen and her goon squad, her enforcer buddy Vic Malone, and some shady third guy lurking by my dock, flashlights dancing, not lighting anything yet but close enough to scream intent. "Gotcha," Pete says, handing me the drive. "We'll nail him." I fired off an email to the board with the clip attached. Explain your midnight stroll on my land. Crickets for days, them betting I'd fade away like the fog. Then the real slap, a bill taped to my door for $4,850. Hazard removal services, charging me for hauling away the mess they made. Arrogance on steroids, like they figured my age made me easy prey. A widower too tired to fight. That's when it snapped. I dug into my dusty file cabinet, unrolling yellowed maps from the 80s, comparing them to the county's online ones, and bam, a sneaky boundary tweak 12 years back, shifting lines to claim my base strip, probably greased by some clerk Karen schmoozed at a fundraiser, all to feed her control freak hunger. No annexation docs anywhere. I printed stacks, highlighted the fraud, and then an old message from a ousted board guy, Ray Thompson, warning me about her schemes. Jack, watch out. Karen's email here admits it. He's ancient, won't notice. Redraw the maps, bill him, bury complaints in legalese. Her own words, damning as hell, proving it wasn't error but a calculated grab, rooted in her resentment of outsiders like me who didn't bow to her community vision, which really meant lining pockets and bullying dissenters. But the ace? A call to my old zoning nemesis, Walt Freeman, retired to Nevada, but sharp as ever. We'd sparred over permits back in the day, but mutual respect held. Jack, you wired the utilities for that whole sprawl in '92, right? Gave him easements for water, power. Check the founding deed. You're the grantor with veto power baked in. He flew in, met me at the corner diner over black coffee, sliding over faded papers. Turns out, to snag my road access and lines, the developers made me co-founder on paper, with an override clause, unanimous grantor consent for big changes, and dissolution rights for board misconduct. Me, the lone grantor, holding the kill switch they never knew existed, buried in fine print Karen's crew ignored in their greed rush. I prepped the field, hammered no trespassing signs everywhere, wired procams with timestamps, waiting for her next poke. Sure enough, Vic rolls up in a golf cart with a jittery inspector in tow. Mandatory compliance check, he barks, ignoring the signs, stepping bold onto my drive. I meet him on the porch, phone rolling. You're trespassing, folks. Smile for the camera. Vic's smirk fades to panic, eyes flicking to the lens, the signs, backing off with a glare that could curdle milk, muttering threats under his breath. I shot that vid to a local muckraker blog, stirring the pot. And Karen ups the ante with a mailed court order. Fake county seal slapped on, felony stupid, claiming entry rights with cops. Her desperation peaking because deep down, she knew her throne was cracking, built on lies and intimidation that alienated half the hood. I marched that forgery straight to Commissioner Ellis at the courthouse. His face darkened. This is criminal, Jack. Phones rang, probes launched. With Walt's docs confirming my power, evidence chained tight. Maps, emails, vids, the works. I geared for the showdown. The blog blew it wide, residents griping anonymously about Karen's fines and favoritism, forcing an emergency meeting she spun as security talk, but really to rally her loyalists. Walked in with Pete, arms full of evidence packets for every seat. The room hummed tense, Karen at the podium, flanked by Vic, her voice cracking under that forced poise. I let her ramble about upholding standards before standing. Karen, got your 2017 email here. He's decrepit, fake the boundaries, squeeze him dry. Care to explain? Gasps rippled, faces twisted as I read her venom aloud, Zeke cueing the trespass vid on the screen. Midnight safety check? Hours before my boat torches? The crowd erupted. A lady in front yelled, You fined me $600 for holiday lights. What the hell? Murmurs turned to shouts, Karen stammering, Out of context! Invasion of privacy! But the doors banged open, Ellis and a deputy striding in. This is now official. Fraud probe active, seals forged. Her eyes wild, searching escape. I held up the charter, voice calm as steel. As founding grantor per Section 7, I dissolve this board for malfeasance. Pen scratched. Done. Deputy tapped her shoulder. Ma'am, come with us. Amid cheers, sobs of relief, her empire crumbling in real time, that smug facade shattering into defeat. Charges flew. Forgery, fraud, harassment. Uncovering her slush fund from bogus penalties. Her downfall a poetic gutting of the system she'd gamed. Weeks later, peace settled. No patrols, no notices. Neighbors pitched in rebuilding my dock. Tools clanging, laughs shared. Birthing a voluntary co-op, minimal dues for basics, a fresh start from the ashes. Holding Emily's warped anchor, I felt the weight of loss, but the spark of renewal. They aimed to break me, but ignited a tighter community, exposing rot that festered too long. Yet sometimes I wonder, was dissolving it all too harsh, or just the justice bullies deserve? Leaves room for debate, right? What if power like that falls to the wrong hands next time? Hey, if this hits home, drop a comment below. What's your take on HOA's gone rogue? Or that line between payback and overkill? Share your stories. Hit like if you're team underdog, and subscribe for more real talk tales that cut deep. Thanks for listening.